Ladies and gentlemen, I'll call the meeting back to order. And we will continue with public comment. Next on our list is Sarah Barati. Sarah Barati. Barati. Okay. Next is George Leonard. George, 1 second. JT, do you have the timer? Oh. Can we get the doors closed over here?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, good evening, Commissioners. I'll be brief because anybody that knows me knows this is the last thing that I want to be doing right now, but it's important, so here we go. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Fowler for his input at the last meeting. It felt like the first time that many of us on this side of the issue were actually heard, so for that, thank you, sir. Now, don't get me wrong, the 2 o'clock suggestion, it's not what we want, but it would be far less devastating than what's being proposed right now. What I would ask is that we table this, give the things that are being done downtown time to work. They have a good chance of working, they just need time. Downtown Johnson City culture, it can change quickly. With that change comes opportunity, not just for businesses, property owners, residents, but for the entire city. Johnson City has something special. Nowhere else in the area has it. If it's managed correctly, it can be a shining example and a magnet for tourism. Now, let me take a second to share what I saw this past weekend. I saw old friends reunited, having a good time, laughing, strangers becoming friends, finding common ground, and people connecting with each other. And that was just law enforcement that was downtown. We had city and county working along side by side, officers talking with folks, building trust with the community. We need that here. People who might not always trust law enforcement, building a little bit more faith because of those interactions. Mr. Wise, you've expressed concerns about sustainability. That is being addressed. Washington County's extra duty patrols and protocols are considerably less restrictive, and that has been part of the conversation from jump. Ms. Ball said herself that she's not sure if this change will make a difference, so please give the changes that are already in motion and that are already making a difference time to take root. To that end, I'll give my time and my energy to a task force to make sure these things happen, and I know other downtown stakeholders will do the same. Now, the state, they gave you this authority. They did not demand you use it. They did not put a clock on it, and it's not a one-time use. Any pressures you're feeling are self-induced. With that, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Next, Thomas Breeze.
Put my readers on. Thomas Breeze, Johnson City. Commissioners, Johnson City is a college town, as well as a great community. Keeping regular customers, students, and downtown patrons safe while they socialize is what we do. Over 32 years that I've personally worked in and owned bars, downtown has grown vibrant, but cutting hours to 1 or 2 in the morning risks getting that. It is jobs, energy, and safe spots for people to gather. Early closures could push people to unregulated areas, spiking crime, not curbing it. Recent efforts are working. Washington County and JCPD came to our need. They cleared loiterers from parking lots, folks who probably never even entered our businesses. It made lots cleaner for some of the city public works guys that I talked to this week. That beefed up police presence also tamed cruisers and hot rodders with loud trucks and motorcycles, creating a peaceful vibe. Targeted policing works. Washington, D.C. saw a 35% violent crime drop in 2024 with hotspot patrols. Atlanta's data-driven approach cut crime without killing nightlife. You've got hundreds of opposition emails and WJHL survey with 2/3 against this. New measures are clicking. Give them time before locking in permanent changes. Keep downtown thriving as a safe, vibrant hub for students and all of us. Commissioners, our late night downtown economy is this city's heartbeat. It's grown strong over 25 years, and cutting hours to 1 or 2 in the morning risks undoing that. It's jobs and vibrancy. Give this time before locking in permanent changes. Late night economy spots like bars and restaurants drive significant revenue. Studies show they can contribute 15 to 20% of a city's downtown economic activity. Shutting them down early, like 1 or 2 in the morning, risks slashing jobs and local spending. For example, New York City's nightlife supports over 200,000 jobs and generates $9 billion in economic impact annually. Give those cleaner parking lots and recent efforts by downtown businesses along with law enforcement time. They're already showing results. Don't choke the vibrancy of downtown. Safety is what you all have said is the main factor here. We provide a safe place for our patrons and look out for any issues downtown. Just ask any officer, city worker, or downtown business. Don't treat us like the criminals doing the violence. You are reprimanding us by taking valuable hours away, and it's not fair to us who follow the rules. The past 2 weekends have proven a lot. Give us a chance. Don't vote yet to change hours of our alcohol sales. Give us 6 months, as I've politely asked before. Several things have changed in this ordinance. Make it fair to all businesses affected by this. Give us time to sit with you all and figure this out. We have tried to reach out to you with only one of you answering. Please don't rush this. Keep downtown thriving, not throttled.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Breeze. Next on the list is Keith McCoy.
Keith McCoy, 308 East Main Street, Mulligan's Pub. Commissioners, Mayor, Vice Mayor. I just want you to know that Mulligan's isn't open till 1. So I'm speaking to you just trying to look at it rationally. So the city is going to be hurt if this ordinance is passed in a couple of ways. First, tax revenues will go down because business will be less. That's not, I don't know what the number is, but don't hurt the city by doing that. The reason it'll go down is because there are many people who are law-abiding who go to these bars late at night. Those people want to do that. I'm old, I don't do that, but they want to. Many of those people are my customers earlier in the evening, and they just go down to one of the other establishments like the people that have just talked to you. Don't punish them because of a few people who aren't our customers or who are just a small number of people are misbehaving. And the police presence is affecting those people so that they're not a problem anymore. Next, please consider this harm to Johnson City. We have a reputation for having a nice, safe nightlife. Word will spread if we tamp that down. So please don't hurt our reputation by doing that. And then the last point I would say that's a harm to us is this regulation of our businesses is contrary to what I think all of you want to do with our businesses. You want them to grow. We want them to grow. We want them to be successful and safe. And one day I hope Mulligan's will be open later than 1 o'clock. So please consider all of this. And as my colleague said just now, give the safety measures in place with this task force, with Washington County Sheriff, time. Give it time to work. In 2 weeks, it's already working. In 2 weeks, the troublemakers are not present on downtown streets. Don't enact this ordinance today. Vote no. You have the opportunity to come back and instate it if you think it will do it. But my opinion is police presence is much more likely and is visibly improving the situation compared to the idea of closing businesses as a way to control crime. There's nothing wrong inherently with people wanting to have a good time between 1 and 3. What's wrong is people misbehaving between 1 and 3, and that's being handled right now. So I just ask you to take this rational approach. Consider the emotional approaches as well, because loss of city revenue includes not just taxes the business pays, but the spending that their employees who are going to be reduced hours or laid off put into our city's coffers. So please just pause, because you're going to hurt the city if you do this. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Next is Eric Latham.
Hey, good evening. My name's Eric Latham. My wife Kat and I, we live on the Tree Streets on Poplar Street. And 11 years ago this year, we started Johnson City Brewing. So we've been part of the downtown community for a good long while. Kat and I talk about this issue quite a bit these days and think a lot about it. And even though it doesn't directly impact our business from an hour standpoint, usually we close at about 10 or so, we definitely have a heart for small businesses and our fellow business owners that are, up and down Main Street next to us. And we've got a heart for those business owners and the folks that work with them. And so tonight I'm here to ask that you all vote no on the early closing measure. I know it's the third reading, but I feel like we can still come back from this. To me, this is not a no, a forever no. This is a not right now no. And I think the gentleman just said this is something that we can go back to, right? This is not something, if it's voted, not voted tonight, then we can come back to it. Is that right? From a state standpoint? Okay. I just wanted to say too that thinking about this, and multiple folks have mentioned this, is that I think there's an opportunity to give it time, like you said, maybe even more specifically. And I've talked with a couple of the commissioners. I know that you guys have been working on this for years now and looking at data, probably a lot of information that we don't have. And this, there's public safety issue downtown. I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't want to, increase public safety. Everybody wants downtown safe, but maybe there's a way that we can do that and keep businesses doing business and folks earning wages. And something specifically like, I know there have been names of task force and committees and things like that, but maybe one that would be both the commission, and I know all this stuff's already been kind of happening here, but it just, been thinking about it. That would include city and county law enforcement, but also the businesses could be at the table, maybe for a month or two, maybe specifically come up with a plan. And then like they said, give it some time. Let's say you come back in 12 months and say, were we able to together as a community do this? And I mean, that would be like a victory together. That would be huge if we did that together. And so maybe give it a little bit of time, maybe even put a specific time, look at the crime and see if we're able to decrease it as a team, as a community. And if we're able to do that, then great, we can keep moving forward and allow business to do business, and then decrease crime at the same time. And if not, after 12 months, maybe it would be agreed upon, maybe we need to do something here. But I get the feeling like people want to give this a little time. So if we can table it or push pause, or vote no tonight if we have to, I think that's probably the best move for our community. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Latham. Next is Sylvan Bruni.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. What concerns me about this ordinance is not only the proposal itself, but the process, as has been highlighted already a few times. Horizon 2045 has shown us what collaborative city planning can look like, and when we have residents and neighborhoods and businesses that are engaged together in shaping our future. Likewise, over the past couple of months, with the community-led No Bitcoin campaign, we've shown how ordinary people can mobilize and organize, then share information and work productively with city leaders. Just last night, we saw collaboration again in action in a standing room-only forum at the public library on the impact study that the city is sponsoring on crypto mining facilities and AI data centers. The city managers, staff members were there, and they listened and engaged with residents very directly, and it was, in my sense, very positive and productive. So that's the kind of openness and that's going to build trust. When it comes to this particular ordinance, the process has looked very different. And based on what I've heard in meeting after meeting and comment after comment, people feel like that conversation has been rushed or is incomplete. So it doesn't reflect the same kind of engagement that we've seen on Horizon 2045 or the No Bitcoin campaign, which they demonstrated is possible. At the second reading, Commissioner Fowler, you said you were open to considering a 2 a.m. compromise. My understanding is that that never translated into any action or discussion with the community. When openness like that is expressed but then not followed through, that weakens the confidence that the community can have in the process, and it undermines the transparency and the accountability which the community is demanding of you all to rebuild this trust. So tonight, as always, I'm going to ask 3 questions of the Commission. One, why was this ordinance not approached with the same inclusive and collaborative process that we've seen for those other topics that I've mentioned earlier? Number 2, why was the Commission's stated openness to a 2 a.m. compromise never pursued or translated into concrete discussions? And 3, most importantly, how will the city ensure that future difficult or controversial decisions are approached with a spirit of collaboration, transparency, and trust? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bruni. Next, we have Abigail Honeycutt.
Am I allowed to let Laura speak in my place?
I don't believe so. But Abigail, you're more than welcome to.
Speak?
Yeah.
We have gotten so far away from the plot on what safety means and what liquor by the drink and hours are, what they even are. Jello shots do not magically transmute into firearms. Beer does not cause rape, and crime has no home and it has no bedtime. I am forced to admire, as a human being that loves to kick a hornet's nest and fully believes that action, even a bad one, can create a lot of really positive change. That's kind of where we're at. There is a story that could be told today that is absolutely beautiful. We have gotten back some trust in our community police officers. We have organized and leveraged in a way that I've never seen in this town. There is so many directions this could go. Give us 6 months. Work with us, please. We are here to meet you at the same end goal. Mr. Fowler, I saw your interview this morning, and I thank you for taking the time to give it, because at least you care enough to speak to it. And you mentioned something that I thought was interesting. You said that your threat to close the bars down earlier had solved over-serving issues. There is one of many dramatic misunderstandings of how this industry works that we are here to explain to you. Our ABC, dram shop laws, and insurance liability has long controlled that, and we're not paying out $27 million today. We ain't had an insurance issue ever in years. Those pieces and forces already exist. Jenny, you said that downtown is your heart. And I ain't seen you down there in years. And it's my heart. So when I leave here tonight, I'm going to go downtown and I'm going to finalize layoff reports. I'm going to start unemployment applications. I'm going to begin a futile endeavor to replace those satellite jobs, and you could spare us all of that with just 6 months. That feels like a reasonable ask. You asked us for respect. We've done everything you asked us to do. Please do what we're asking you to do.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Next, and I apologize if I say this wrong, Alex Lamont? Hey.
Get in here. All right. I have a lot to say. I printed out what I had as well, if you all would like a copy of it too. I'm going to speak a little bit quick. My name is Alex Lamont. I'd like to go ahead and begin with this statement. I am a downtown bartender that believes that the alcohol sale hours should be reduced to an extent. Quick introduction of myself. I've lived in Johnson City collectively for a little over 10 years. I have a degree in business management with a concentration in legal studies, along with certifications in business analytics and finance. I've worked for a criminal defense attorney for the past 7 years. I've coordinated and organized small events and festivals in downtown. But above all else, I'm proudly just a bartender. I love this industry, and I've been a part of it on and off since I was 18. Every time I leave, I find myself back in it. I've worked and lived right in the middle of downtown for the past 6 years, and my husband has ran a bar in downtown for close to 20 years. If you asked me 6 months ago if I thought it was necessary for bars to close early, I would have vehemently said no. Though, starting 6 months ago, I began conducting a study to get to the root of the issue. What I found is the deeper I dove into the situation, the more dire the circumstances became. I truly believe it is all of our responsibilities to maintain safe, law-abiding, ethical business practices when monetizing and hosting the 10,000 more people that we've seen grow in the past 10 years. And I would like to request all bars to follow the laws that already exist instead of perpetuating the need to create new ones. I want this to be heard loud and clear. I cannot speak for anyone on this commission or anyone behind me, but I can speak to my research and experience. I want to stand here with integrity and honesty and say to you all that downtown Johnson City does currently have a serious issue with violent crime. There's a phrase we say in the bar industry for people that we know need to be removed from the bar. It's simply called "call it a night." With the understanding that there can be a tomorrow, just call it a night. Be safe and be responsible. As I'm pressed for time, and I hope you'll allow me to finish, I propose the following potential revision to your solution, in short, that I'm referring to as "call it a night," that focuses on responsible and safe redirection of downtown nightlife. Although I believe the hours should be reduced, I don't think 1 a.m. is currently the most practical solution. Through results of my research, which I can share with you all if need be, is that I believe the root cause of the violence stems from an overconcentration of people in one area. With that said, I'm requesting we consider closing at 2 a.m. instead of 1 a.m., with the last call being 1:45 and bars closing at 2 a.m. In regards to a case study that was referenced on the last call cell hours out of Baltimore, the city saw a massive improvement in crime by reducing cell hours to 1 a.m. in certain districts. However, their typical closing time was 2 a.m., meaning they rolled it back 1 hour. I do believe that by reducing 2 full hours, it would in fact make outlying areas and residential spaces less safe and more active. I believe because of the conditioned predisposition that bars close here at 3 a.m., it would make it very difficult to convince people to call it a night. I do believe that rolling it back an hour would see a healthy, less combative migration out of downtown and will result in a reduction of overconcentration, overspending on crime prevention, and perhaps people driving in and out of outlying cities because our sale hours are still consistent and competitive with neighboring states and cities. I also believe in the diversification of industry and business throughout the city. I believe other businesses that aren't already in high traffic areas like downtown need the extra hour for the health of their business. So I ask that you reduce it back down to the downtown district for the original
Alex.
plans.
I'm going to have to cut you short.
Okay, well,
But I
there's the
appreciate
rest
it,
of
and
it
I thank
there.
you for bringing this.
Yeah, and I've got a few other options on there too.
Yeah,
but just
absolutely.
consider.
Thank you so much. We do have, I believe, one additional person that signed up that is in the room, Robert Smith.
Thanks for letting me speak. I actually went to the water department in a hurry. I didn't read the rest of my text from my assistant. It said in between the police department and the water department, and so I just saw water department, and I had that in my head. I'm going to set my timer if that's okay, because 3 minutes will be by here in just a little bit. Okay. My name is Robert Smith. I live at 1709 McClellan Drive here in Johnson City, Tennessee. For the record, I am against the ordinance, mostly for the same reasons stated by the opposition. But I do have a few things I would like to say, and the first is my observation over the years. All the crime that is experienced today in downtown is a direct result of the city's neglect for the safety of the downtown area for the last decade. The police officers had their hands tied, but I took criminal justice at MTSU, and the theory of the balance was, yeah, it's good to be a social worker, but they're too much of a social worker. For allowing the bums, drug dealers, drug pushers, drug users, aggressive panhandlers, thieves to loiter on the sidewalks, in the corridors, and the business doorways. This decade of negligence has snowballed into the violent crime that we experience today. I do not believe it's actually 100% alcohol related, and there may be some isolated cases depending on the type of establishment it is. But the sheriff's response to me seemed appropriate. I understand that they're going to have 6 months. And so I think this time would be a good time for the city to get with the sheriff's department to make a strategic safety plan for downtown. And that would come into effect at the end of the 6 months. Since the presence of the sheriff's department lowers the severity of needing to pass this ordinance so quickly, this gives the board time to determine the projected revenue loss. And that's not hard to determine based off of past financials. You could get a forecast of exactly how much money, and that's a fiscal responsibility that the board has. Okay. Now, I do support downtown businesses, but I'm here today because I have a nightclub that I plan to open up. It's Nashville Sound Bar and Grill, 1121 North Rome Street here in Johnson City. My business model is a nightclub, and I depend on the late night crowds. I plan to employ 30 people, but if you pass this ordinance, it's not going to happen because people like the late night crowds. They like to eat and go party in the same town. They don't want to eat and have a full stomach and go all the way to Kingsport. But nobody wants to litigate, but I would definitely sue the city if this is passed. With all respect, I disagree with the interpretation of the downtown district definition. I believe it's misleading, and it has a double meaning, and it should be void for vagueness. I also believe that this would be a regulatory taking because of the viable use of my property as a nightclub as well as the other bars. I think it's a stretch to reach out and encompass all the bars based off of, oh, sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Are there, I guess I'll start to my right. Commissioner Fowler, anything you want to pull? Vice Mayor?
Not today.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to pull 5.2.5 about our traffic control systems and signal poles.
Commissioner Wise?
I got my questions answered, thank you.
Ms. Ball?
Yes, item 5.2, excuse me. Item 5.2.2, is that the correct one? 0.5. That is traffic signal poles, and we have the Public Works Department Traffic Division here to answer those questions.
Mr. Miles, we have several projects that are going on in terms of expansion of infrastructure. It'd be good for our citizens to understand what those projects are, and these are, we can't do it without these poles, right?
Right, yes, ma'am. Good evening, Commissioners, Vice Mayor, Mayor. These 7 traffic signals are going to be, or poles are going to be placed at State of Franklin and University Parkway. The improvements there are going to improve pedestrian movements through that intersection, as well as vehicle movements. We've made some improvements through the West Walnut Corridor Redevelopment Project, and this will continue to enhance those pedestrian improvements there. Also at North Roan and Rockingham, there's major subdivision development up in that area. A lot of traffic on Rockingham, so the traffic signal there at North Roan and Rockingham will help alleviate that congestion. And finally, at Suncrest and Sam Jenkins out in Gray, which we all know is growing by leaps and bounds. So the Keebler development, the annexations out there are driving a lot of growth in that area. So the signal will help there for sure.
Will all 3 of these be by year end completed, do you think, or?
We're still kind of planning out, our construction schedule over the next year. The poles, once shop drawings are approved, take about 6 months to arrive. So we're anticipating that the poles will be here in the spring, start construction then. Hopefully by this time next year, we'll be complete with those 3 projects. But we've got quite a bit of work in front of those projects. So I would say conservatively by the fall of next year, we should be done. Yeah.
So it's quite a lead time. These are steel poles, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, well.
Yeah, they're custom.
Keep our fingers crossed then. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments, or entertain a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock? Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball?
Yes, the next item, Commission, for your consideration is item 6.1. This is ordinance 4926-25. This is the first reading and public hearing for consideration of FY 2025 supplemental budget ordinance, which is an ordinance appropriating additional funds to various departments and divisions of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, with additional revenue from local, state, and federal sources. And just as a matter for the public, any reading about the budget, we have public hearing at the first reading of that.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. I'm sorry.
Just Mr. Thompson, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dustin Thompson, Budget Director. This ordinance is your FY25 supplemental budget. It sets a budget for items not included in the original FY25 budget ordinance, including the settlement, the final payment for the Tapestry project, the HVAC project at Southside Elementary, and the school's secure vestibules project. As a reminder, all of the items in this ordinance, less the school operating changes, that require your approval were approved in open public meeting during FY25. This ordinance formalizes those changes and incorporates them into the budget. This ordinance also formalizes the amendments passed by the school board during the prior fiscal year. This keeps us in compliance with state law and our city charter. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Otherwise, we recommend approval on first reading after public hearing.
Mr. Thompson, on the school amendment, having served on the school board, the revenue sources for the school system come in at a variety of different times, like federal funding, school lunch services and all that. So this is just now, they finally have all their revenues nailed down, and so it's bringing it back with an amendment to formalize it in the budget.
Correct.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, just for the benefit of those who are here, we're talking about modifying a budget for a fiscal year that has already ended.
That is
And so this
correct.
is a cleanup to make the budget, this is really for the auditors, is what we're doing here, is to make the budget align with what we now know some of that uncertain funding to be in retrospect.
Revenues and expenses, yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Public hearing. I will open the floor to public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this particular item is welcome to come to the podium. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball?
Next order of business is item 7.1. This is ordinance number 4920-25. It's the second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to adopt and certify Johnson City's comprehensive plan known as Horizon 2045 Growth Management Plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Wendy Hodges, I'm the planning manager, and it is really exciting for me to be here. We are at the end of a process with second reading and public hearing. I am going to go over some of the work that we will be doing with the Horizon 2045 plan because it is the public hearing, and sometimes just kind of get everybody on the same page. This is not working. There. Why is...
Sorry, someone said that the video is sideways and there's no audio for the people that are watching it online.
JT, there may not be audio,
And the video is sideways.
and we might need to straighten the phone up a little bit.
But
There's
the
somebody's
video
watching
is
online,
sideways.
and the sound's not on.
The sound is not working online. They're saying that somebody's calling from home and they can't hear us.
Apparently.
And
And the video is sideways.
Do you want us to?
That I can't fix, that's YouTube's fault. I'll take all of the responsibility.
Should we take another recess to check on it? Or?
So we can, in the meantime that I've been sitting back there catching my breath, I've brainstormed another way that we might be able to bring audio in through another patch. If we do that recess, I would probably request a 15-minute, because if that doesn't work, I'd have to back up to the phone again. I'm 99% sure that I can make it work, but it's basically...
Well,
I think it's worth trying to
absolutely.
do it through the main system. But
Yeah. So
I would
we'll
not
take
be
a
opposed
15.
to a recess.
I'm not trying to sabotage your audio, doing the best I can to get it online. But yeah, if you give me 15 minutes, I think that I can patch to another input on the system and bring this back on, because the audio works here, I just can't get it online.
Okay. Thank you, JT. We'll call a 15-minute recess.
Okay, thank you very much.
We will call the meeting back to order. I think we have our YouTube channel working. And Ms. Hodges?
So where we were is, we were talking about where we are in the process for this. We're at a public hearing, so we will hear from the public comments tonight. Just to kind of get everybody on the same page, and I won't go over this into too much depth, but each of the phases have had a key task for the consultants to do, and Jessica went over these who is our consultant from Kimley Horn in the first reading. They've had a key task and a key deliverable. All the key deliverables are on the website that is associated with this plan. We eventually will migrate that website completely into the Johnson City website and really keep a lot of those documents as archives. One of the things that I heard in public comment is, how are we really going to use this plan? So in the green is where you see how the government will use the plan. So city staff, we're going to be looking at this as we make decisions around growth or things that might relate to growth. The Planning Commission will use this when they are making their recommendations, as well as when they look at things that may come up with annexations, text amendments, the subdivision ordinance, those kinds of things that they'll look through. And then the commission itself will use this as a guiding document. How outside of government will look at it is businesses. It allows developers a way to know where we want growth to be, so that when they come with projects to the planning department, we can say, hey, this is where we would like to see this type of development. Or maybe, we see what you're doing here, but it's maybe something that's more appropriate over here. Residents will be able to know what's going to go on around me. What is the vision that my community set forth and the government set forth? And then community leaders. It is actually really refreshing to hear that it's already being used outside of how I typically use it, and of of looking at a community vision. And then with our regional partners, because the success of Johnson City depends on the region. And so this can be used as a way to know what Johnson City values and how we're going to proceed as we chart growth. And in this was a big bunch of public engagement. And you have seen this slide many a time, but through this process, we utilized different groups at different points in time. And so this is just kind of a snapshot of what we needed throughout the year and or 2 years that we were doing this. And it's probably about a year and a half of like direct public engagement. Jessica went over this in the first reading, but it talks about just how many people we have touched, like how many touch points we've had, where we have collected data. Because we were in the public, we were also online. So we tried to make sure that there were ways to engage this. And oftentimes we get asked, like, who are those stakeholders that we've talked to? And this gives a list of those. And with the pop-up events, I would say that this is just a snapshot through kind of spring to fall of last year. We also did things through December with the Christmas tree, and then prior to May, I think that when I charted it, I had spoken to 25 different groups throughout, essentially, I think about a year. So, how did we get here is a kind of a segue. So these are the big steps that we took. And I'm going to break down those just a little bit and talk about some highlights. With the community characteristics report, what I really want to do is highlight that this was a snapshot that we had in 2023. And all of this wonderful data is available for anyone on the website, and we will continue to have that available. One of the founding things that is in this document is a guiding statement. Because that's what we based the rest of it on. It was the first thing that we did. And I'd like to read it just because I don't think we actually have read it. And it says, by 2045, Johnson City continues to be a regional leader in Northeast Tennessee by being a vibrant, welcoming, and connected community. We celebrate the people, places, and traditions that make our community unique and memorable by supporting strong neighborhoods, maintaining an attractive and dynamic downtown, providing premier public services and amenities, and investing in the local economy. The Horizon 2045 Growth Management Plan helps our community grow in a way that is collaborative and desirable for all. And that truly the collaborative part is what happened through this planning process. And to kind of educate what a planning process is versus some of the ordinances, it is meant to be a lot of public input. Because we are setting a vision for 20 years. The planning themes that developed out of this, and you guys remember some of these, were quality growth and development, strong neighborhoods, prosperous economy, vibrant downtown, coordinated transportation systems, supported services and utilities, healthy environments, and a first-class education system. And we'll talk a little bit more about how these play into our implementation strategy. Another component in that 1, 2, 3, and 4 was the conceptual growth strategy. The Planning Commission spent a lot of time here just developing kind of what in a big picture this might look like, and it's reflected in the place types and in the future land use map. And through this process, we did several review loops. So there were a lot of times where we would go back to stakeholders or staff or the community to kind of make sure that we were on track. The foundation to the future land use map, which is one of the key pieces of this plan, are the place types. And you will hear planners say place types a lot when we're talking about the Horizon 2045 plan. Zones apply in something different. But our place types have very broad categories, and they're focused in downtown, mixed use, residential, and then non-residential. And then we have, because we always need a catch-all category, we do have that in special district. So this map is a representative of what the future land use map looks like. What you'll notice is that, and I want to say that what you'll notice is this is the urban growth boundary. We have multiple kind of, I call it lines that we use. So it's this future land use map is larger than the city limits. So it does go into Washington County and parts of Sullivan County. And the Sullivan County would be, in Carter County, or where we are in the municipal boundaries. But you can go on, if you want to know what your property is, in what place type your property is in, you can go to the Horizon 2045 website and put in your address. Take a minute because it does take a while to download, but it will show you where that is. It's kind of like a Google based. One thing that I want to show you from the place type summary, and I think this map, I'm going to go flip back. Oop, which way, I don't know which way I'm going. There we go. Because it expands, is that in the plan, we kind of break down what these place types mean in a broad spectrum. And I circle the neighborhood residential and rural residential, because you'll notice that most of what our plan is still to provide a lot of residential. So, and I kind of want to point that out. And one of the questions that I have gotten is, how do these place type work? And as the commission, you have seen us use these, but I kind of want to explain to the public how that goes. Inside the plan, the page looks like this. And each place type, this is the neighborhood residential place type. And so I'm going to break down what each component that as a planner or as decision makers we would use. First, there's going to be a map. And unfortunately, I picked the one that has the hardest color to see, but the largest amount of land. But that yellow color is where neighborhood residential is. And when we're looking at that, the considerations for neighborhood residential, there is in each of the place types, what we're looking for in like what the characteristics or the feeling should be in these. And that's one of the reasons we moved to place types from use types, is because we wanted to be able to have a little bit more guidance on what that character should feel like. Then to the right of the page, it'll have appropriate land uses, and that's kind of like a stereo toggle, where you have less appropriate and more appropriate. It doesn't, because it is a future land use plan, it's not here to be prohibitive, but it is to say, this is probably more appropriate, this is less appropriate. So in this place type, you'll notice that there is still some room for multifamily. There is some room for kind of that, what we call missing middle, but that quadplex or townhome, but it's predominantly single family. Commercial, it's going to be on the low scale. Institutional, which that's going to be schools, churches, that kind of thing. That's in the middle, but then industrial and heavy industrial and employment flex, those kind of industries, those are going to be also on the low. You also have desired characteristics, and each of these will change with the particular use. And this one kind of has all of them. So when it says use mix, what that means is it going to be all the same, or is there some room for different uses in one development? Compactness really talks about that density, but it doesn't prescribe the density. That's going to come in the zoning ordinance. If it's going to be residential or non-residential, if single family, multifamily, you can kind of read through there. But each of them will have this scale so that we can use that as we make decisions. But really what's important to know is this plan just changes no one's zoning district. All it does is give us guidance. So with a place type, we're looking at guidance for future development or redevelopment. When we're looking at recommendations for the land use, if we want to if changes are being asked from a property owner. It does have a lot of community participation and will provide a lot of direction for community plans. And it's, again, really more for guidance, where the zoning ordinance is law. So we're not, like I said, we're not changing anybody's zoning. And then say that we have something that is different from what the place type is. Right now, we're not proposing, and it would be part of probably a community vision to say, do we want to change that on our own? But we're letting, if you have a vested right of what you have, we're not changing anybody's vested right. Zoning ordinances are staff administrative, and they, like I said, they are the law, but they're just a tool to implement this vision. So when we have, how this all works together is we have that desired outcome, that kind of that base of a guiding statement. And then the planning themes give us these chapters and ways that we can kind of break down how we're going to do these objectives, policies, and actions. And within that, in the matrix, we have ways to do that through projects, programs, policies, and plans. And so you'll see that in the matrix as well. This is the first page of the implementation strategy that helps just tell you how to use it. And the most important to note is the kind of arrow that indicates that this was something that the community wanted or that the consultants recommend as a priority to kind of get to start. So this is just an example of what the implementation matrix looks like. And I think Jessica went over that last time pretty well, so I won't go over it again. How we're going to use it is annually, city departments are going to look at, well, what are we, in our budget, what are we doing? And how does that look in the growth plan? And so I'll get to some slides a little bit later. Every 5 years, we'll be evaluating policies. And then hopefully I'll be back every 10 to say, hey, we need to start looking out again. This was a great process for the community because it's a way for communities to have conversations about how they want to see growth. And I was very lucky to be a part of a lot of great conversations. So how are we using it? I'm going to start with the Economic Development Department. We are working on transparency in the development process. And so that already relates to a policy that comes out of the Horizon 2045 plan. We're not the only ones that are doing that. Budget, building services, and engineering are also looking at policies. The downtown parking and circulation study, that has a policy and an action that is directly related to the Horizon 2045 plan. And then a housing policy is one of the plans that came out of this plan that we're currently working on. Water and sewer, I actually asked all the departments, and I'm just giving you a sample, to give me something you're working on and how this might relate to the plan. So water and sewer is opening up for bids for a regional water system on particular roads, and they are working with Washington County. And so that comes out also of an action that we're already doing. Parks and Recreation, their master plan, which I believe y'all had recently had, or they've recently readopted, they're looking at eliminating park deserts and increasing recreational opportunities. They feel like this really aligns with quality of growth, and then also sent me how specifically they were meeting that. And then the MPO, or the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization, they just passed a unified work program, and they list 2 projects where the Highway 75, how they're working with their neighbors to do coordination with that, and then a mobility study. So this relates to a lot of different departments. So what's the next step? After public hearing and after adoption, we're going to put some final touches on, communications will put some final touches on the ordinance. On the document. In the ordinance, you'll notice at the bottom that there is language for that, so that if we find that we need to update some data, not policies, not future land use map, we could go in and just change some colors, make sure that everything meets our brand standards. Then the planning division will, and with communication, will undertake making sure that all this gets to a website, as well as getting all of these layers added to GIS. I was given the thumb drives last week, so. And it's here for a public hearing. I am here for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Hodges from this?
I'd just like to add the comment, this document, and a lot of time and a lot of people have weighed in on it. And so for those of us sitting up here who have to look at long-range funding, particularly of infrastructure, that is the big bucket of money that I don't think there's anything less than $1 million on infrastructure. But this gives us some forward-looking views of where infrastructure projects are going to need to go as development occurs. And so from the time I've sat on the commission, which is a number of years, we have been very kind of reactive because all of a sudden growth is going to take place there, and then we've got to go fix some things. We still do that because, you know, you can't plan out everything, but it gives us a better idea now of how we need to look at long-range planning, particularly from that standpoint. And as we have growth, you know, there are areas of infrastructure that are going to be stressed in the city. We can already tell it. But I do appreciate all the work that's been done with this document. I'm assuming as well it will be a dynamic document, will not be static. And from what you're saying from time to time, how it's going to be reviewed, how it's going to be used by the different departments is just going to be a win-win. So thank you a lot to you and your staff who've been working on it, and for the public who've been really, really involved in it. So thank you.
Just to echo that a lot of people have been involved. We have several members of the Planning Commission, and I won't mention Chris or Laura by name, but I want to just acknowledge a considerable amount of time that specifically the Planning Commission has invested in this process, really over the span of
2 years.
I was going to say, feels like 2 years. And so it is very much appreciated and going to be valued, especially as we begin trying to deploy it.
Well, and just for people in the community and in neighborhoods or people looking to move here and buy here and understand what kind of long-term plan might happen growth-wise around them, especially when we are going from a place that historically had a lot of farmland and things kind of can change. And this kind of at least gives something that people can look at and kind of help understand, to help them make decisions where they want to live or work and play or invest or develop. So thank you for putting this together.
Go ahead.
Thank you personally for doing this. I know it's been a big project, and you've been really involved and spent a lot of time talking to people, and for the people on all the committees that you've had for their volunteer time, because it's been a lot of input from a lot of people in the public. Just thank you all for doing this and getting us a plan for the future. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for, against, or neutral on this issue, please come forward.
I would like to thank, I'm Lottie Ryans, and I would like to thank the city staff for their hard work in developing Horizon 2045. The intentionality to include public input was very impressive, and the meeting I participated in included staff from many departments for questions to be answered. Let me hasten to say the interaction I have personally had with Whitney Hodges, Jason Miles, Wayne Lyons, Maggie Darden, and Keisha Shallon on this and other topics relevant to work we're doing has been outstanding. I appreciate their interest in hearing from residents. I live at 10 Strawflower Place, and I'm here to request that the zoning place type designation in the Horizon 2045 plan for the property along Claude Simmons Road and down Knob Creek Road after you come through the tunnel be limited to rural residential in their place type designation. If my understanding is correct, the current recommendation allows for rural residential and neighborhood residential. I'm keenly aware of the need for more housing in our area, and sometimes creating that housing availability includes multifamily units. My understanding is neighborhood residential does allow multifamily such as townhomes and quadplexes. The development along Knob Creek and Mountain View has exploded, and with that has come increased traffic on Claude Simmons, as people often use that road as a pass-through to and from Jonesboro, Greenville, etc. That two-lane road was not designed with the amount of development and traffic along Claude Simmons, and definitely not the subsequent activity from other areas using that as a pass-through. The increased traffic is incredibly inconvenient at best, but often very dangerous as people drive very fast on Claude Simmons and take unnecessary risk at the tunnel. The proposed overpass for the tunnel no longer has a timeline to resolve some of these challenges. As a property owner, I want to see the same type of housing along Claude Simmons and Knob Creek that exists today. The residents of the various neighborhoods have made substantial investments in our property and paid substantial taxes over the years. We'd like to ensure that our values are protected and the amount of traffic does not increase due to multifamily development. We do recognize that even if this area is limited to rural residential, a rezoning request is always possible, and we would need to be diligent and voice our opposition should this arise. We would like the protection of rural residential as the only designation in the approved plan so we can ensure an evaluation of any other type of development on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryans. Sylvan?
Hello again. So I'm here to follow up on my previous question 2 weeks ago on Horizon 2045, and I do support the adoption of the ordinance in that respect. At the first reading, I asked how this body plans to manage the deindustrialization, especially in the South Rhone corridor and the Buffalo Mountain area. As showed in the picture earlier, the proposed FLUM, the future land use map, shows a shift from over a dozen industrial zones in the city today down to just 2 or 3 by 2045. So that is a significant transformation, and it is aligned with what the residents have been prioritizing throughout Horizon 2045. So again, the strong neighborhoods, the healthy environments. I didn't get a response then, but the question is even more pressing now because as of yesterday, Bright Ridge CEO Jeff Dykes finally responded to some of the comments the community has asked regarding Bitcoin and Buffalo Mountain. And part of the response, other than sharing that you, Mayor Hunter, were made aware of the intended use of the parcel for Bitcoin mining, part of Mr. Dyke's response was alluding to the suitability of that parcel on Buffalo Mountain, currently industrial park, for a specifically industrial purpose. That is to build a new electrical substation, thereby justifying the $550,000 price tag on land valued at under $200,000. Now, if Horizon 2045 envisions that area as deindustrialized, so employment flex for that entire section, how does the investment fit with the city's long-term plan? Are we building infrastructure that will be abandoned within 20 years, undermining the ROI that Bright Ridge is actually claiming? And given your position on the Bright Ridge board, I think these questions really deserve some public clarity. So I'll ask, as always, 3 questions. One, how does the Commission plan to manage the deindustrialization outlined in the FLUM, particularly in South Johnson City? Number 2, how does Bright Ridge substation project align with Horizon 2045, given the land's projected shift away from industrial use? And number 3, what steps will the Commission take to ensure consistency and transparency, as always, between Bright Ridge's investments and the city's land use vision and the responsibilities of board members who sit on those, in both of those roles? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvan. Any others? Yes, come forward.
Yeah, my name is Joseph Harker. I live off of Claude Simmons Road, and this is quite informative. I was concerned about my neighborhood and the not rezoning, but the planning, and so I appreciate. I came in here kind of in the dark. This is the first time I've come. So I appreciate that presentation. It makes it a lot clearer. But I, like my neighbor, thought I live off of Claude Simmons, and I have those same concerns, although I haven't written him down like she did so well. Yeah, I'd like to, I guess I haven't even said who I am. My name is Joseph Harker, and I am concerned about the traffic and the other things. And there's several of my neighbors here with me. I don't know if they're going to come up. And then I've talked to some of my other neighbors. And just like Lottie was saying, we do have some concerns. And I am concerned with it, and I came down here to try to understand what was going on. It's one thing to have a plan, it's another thing for us as residents to be educated on it. That road, Claude Simmons, is very windy, and I have concerns about the traffic that is going through there. I understand we can't straighten that road out, and I really don't want it. It's nice and pretty. It's very lovely there. But there is a lot of traffic going through there. And, you know, I would like to have the same like for like in the housing. And my concern is having a higher density residency. I understand that the city, we need to expand, but especially that road, if you've ever been on it, is very windy and very twisty by Alexander Grove, and I live in Strawberry Fields. So the traffic is getting extremely heavy. They repaved it, and it's pretty, and I appreciate it, but when they were repaving it, it was terrible, the traffic. And I understand that, that's growing pains, and I appreciate that we have a nice new road there. But I would like, my concern is with the rezoning of that area from where the tunnel is backwards, that the density stays the same as it is, and it's not any multifamily. Not that I wouldn't appreciate others that are, smaller units in there. That's not my concern. My concern is the traffic and how that's handled.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any others wishing to speak?
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to come up here and share our concerns. I'd like to appreciate also the people who have spent so much time and energy into the Horizons 2045 program and the vision that it is as our city is expanding. My name is Fernando Zepeda. I also live in Strawberry Fields subdivision. I'm also the president of the Homeowners Association for that subdivision. And we recently had a meeting, homeowners meeting, under which we discussed this topic. We understand that there is a need for increased housing in our city. Obviously, I've lived here since 2001 and have really enjoyed the scenic part of where our neighborhoods are. We understand that there does need to be development to add future residents to this city as the growth has continued to occur. However, the tunnel is it does happen to create a lot of problems for traffic. It is an hourglass type situation. There's an apartment complex going up, Universal Living, on the other side of the tunnel. There are multiple large acreage. The Sells Farm right now is 60 acres or something like that. It's currently zoned for commercial development. There's still 4 acres right there on the other side of the tunnel, right next to Universal Living, that are it's also zoned commercial. The traffic is a problem, but also we would just like to maintain kind of the sort of the status quo of what those neighborhoods are. I mean, and we definitely understand that there needs to be more development, and there are multiple farms that are sort of intersected in between neighborhoods that are currently up for sale. And we're not 100% sure what the zoning will be for those properties, but we certainly would like to keep it rural residential, which is kind of what it's like right now. Definitely just want to maintain a lower density type setting in order to maintain the current aesthetics and sort of part of that area under which we all ended up purchasing property and have been longtime residents of. So I don't know if there's going to be like zoning meetings down the road for some of these future plots of land that are currently going to be developed or purchased. But if so, we would appreciate it. They would let us know so we would be able to come and express our concerns or opinions.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Any others?
I just have a real quick question to Whitney, and to address some of the issues brought up back here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
see. Anybody
Or is
else?
there more public hearing?
If not, I'll close the public hearing. Sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Brock.
There's a lot of property out in the area that we're just discussing here. Some of it's in the county, than there are some that are in the city. And this was just for clarification for the discussion that's going on here. The only thing we get to make a determination on would be property that's in the city or requested for annexation to come into the city. If that does not occur, then it is development that is under the jurisdiction of the county.
With our planning commission.
I would say this is an education for all.
Good.
In how planning works as a regional planning body. So we are a city with a regional planning body, which means that you, this board, will only see an annexation or an annexation to become inside the city limits or a rezoning within that side of the city limits. The Planning Commission, on the other hand, they are a recommending body for both the city commission and the county commission. So that's where sometimes when you're inside the planning region, you have to come to Johnson City for your planning recommendation and then Washington County for your actual legislative action.
And to clarify that too, it's in the county within the planning region boundary.
Within the planning region, so not all is in.
And then our planning commission still votes and makes a recommendation to the county, but
Correct.
at the end of the day, the county has the
Correct.
final say so one way or
Yes.
another.
It's just that middle step of the recommending body.
And also though, as far as, there was just one question about if there's rezonings. When a development comes along, if they are asking for a annexation or rezoning, then there is a public meeting that has to have some postage and meeting. If they're not asking for a rezoning, there's not a lot of opportunity because the landowner has kind of the rights to do what they can within the zoning that currently exists.
But most, correct me if I'm wrong, like the Sells Farm and some of that's all county A1, isn't it?
I have to,
I imagine a
believe so, yeah.
significant amount of it is county A1, and by right, they could put a feed lot. There are a lot of really obnoxious uses that can happen in a county A1, but you're not gonna build a lot of houses in county A1. It would be the least intensive in terms of residential.
To Ms. Ryan's comments about the two different types of zoning, and I guess that particular tract is currently on the Horizon 2045 listed as rural
residential,
or, and I know you
Okay,
probably don't
so-
know exactly. Can you speak to these place
yes.
types versus zoning, and what kind of impact these place types have on what's going to actually happen?
That's a good question. It's kind of the place types versus zoning is a little different. And
Correct. So the place type is just, if there was a change, this is some guidance that we can use. It's not the only guidance we can use, but it plays into some of the guidance we can use. And then, so the place type is just a direction. The zoning, which would, if they change the zoning, that is a different type of public process where it is notified through written notification, posted, the property is posted, and then we also have a legal ad for that. It is recommended, and it's seen in a public body 4 times with the Planning Commission and then 3 readings at City Commission. So it would there would be multiple steps to change any of those larger lands that is around the area that they're talking about on Claude Simmons. So.
And I would encourage folks in the immediate neighborhood to talk to Ms. Hodges either at this meeting or, at another time in the near future, to just be confident you know what the notice requirements are so that you can be regardless of what we do with the 2045 plan, you have a lot of potential development around you, and you just want to be sure you're watching all the right places to know where and when it's happening. And she could tell you how to be watching for that.
And one of the tools that is in the recommendations is that there are, as we have areas that have growth potential or that need a finer a refinement, we can have things that are called small area plans, and we can get back together and we can have these conversations on a smaller level and get more granular. So because it's a comprehensive plan, we have to stay at a kind of a bigger level.
So I realize when you're looking at the totality of the city and you're applying all of these different types, you may not be looking at it at a granular level, you know, this side of the road, that side of the road, this side of the tunnel, that side of the tunnel. I completely understand the comments from the neighbors relative to the tunnel and the traffic. And, you know, this commission has made multiple visits to TDOT and Nashville in an effort to maintain our position on the list, honestly. And we are on the list for part of it, but it's still, I think, what are they promising us, like that at 27, you know, so I think we'll see. I anticipate living to see it, but, you know, it is at least on the horizon. It's not tomorrow, but it's on the horizon. My question to you would be like, as the committee looked at it, did they get this granular with it? Like to say, well, you know, were there deliberations about the use type on those properties on Claude Simmons, or did it get kind of swept up in a larger map?
I would say that in that area in particular, knowing that that road is coming, they're preparing for what will happen when a large investment of a transportation improvement happens. There is usually some impact of, well, there might be a need for some modest, and I'm going to call it modest or soft density, so it's incremental, is really what I think that if any out in this area, that's what you know, planning staff would be recommending, of something very soft, because there's compatibility considerations.
Because sometimes when folks are talking about compatibility with the existing neighborhoods, and we have a number of really nice neighborhoods out there and on Indian Ridge and other places, and they're looking at houses that were built in the late 80s through the 90s, and the reality is to rebuild that kind of house in today's economy, it would cost you like $2 million to build the house that, you know, might sell for $900,000 or something. And so the economy is not going to support building necessarily like style housing. Having said that, I'm sympathetic right now. I mean, I guess what I'd be asking you is if we wanted to look at this and say, for now, let's say that on the outside of the railroad, we would be leaning toward rural residential. And if 2030 or 2029, whenever the road comes along, we want to revisit that, we could. Is that?
That is feasible. Because it's adopted as an ordinance, it too goes through the ordinance process. So if you adopt this in September, and we want to make changes after September, we just make changes and we come back through this process.
But like if I wanted to propose changing outside of the railroad track to the rural residential for the purposes of advancing this at second reading, how would I do that in your estimation?
In my estimation, I would need to know like a boundary of what you're talking about, and would need to want to assess it and kind of talk through it with staff to make sure that that continues to make sense of what we're big picture thinking. But yes, changes can still be made.
I mean, I'm thinking west of the railroad track.
How far?
Well, I mean, can you get in on the map? I mean, I think we're talking about that vicinity of Claude Simmons and,
Is this something that, if passed, third reading would see, based on your request, and some due diligence, that this could be modified at the third reading? So we don't necessarily have to define it tonight.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
but that's the current. Those are, yeah.
I may make a motion to approve the Horizon 2045 plan, and you come up with some questions over the next, because I'd like to look at that too and get a map up.
Yeah, I'm just sympathetic to the tunnel being a factor, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for development before that infrastructure is in place. And just think it might give guidance to the Planning Commission and things about what level of intensity is appropriate in the near term. So I would second the motion to approve now, but with the caveat that I'd like to talk about that.
Okay.
Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Wise,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox,
Yes.
Mayor Hunter.
Yes. Ms. Paul?
7.2, this is ordinance 4923-25. This is the second reading and public hearing of an ordinance for the rezoning of 21.43 acres located at 2875 East Oakland Avenue from R4 and B4 to R5.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Riley Pudney, Development Coordinator with the Planning Division. This is the second reading and public hearing, so in the interest of the public, I'll just provide a brief run-through of the request. The timeline we are at the public hearing, second reading, and upon approval of tonight, it will have a final and third reading on September 4th. The neighborhood meeting was held on July 2nd, and ads were sent out July 17th, and signs were placed on the property as well. To reorient the commission, the property is located at the corner of East Oakland and East Springbrook and is roughly 21 acres. It is currently split zoned R4 medium density residential and B4 on the East Springbrook side. And the request is for R5 high density residential to accommodate for 254 apartment units and 6 townhomes that would require a maximum building height of 65 feet rather than the 35 feet in the R4. And this would accommodate for 3- and 4-story buildings. So they're not increasing density with the request, it is to increase the building height. The concept plan is required with this development. The concept plan has 7 apartment buildings with the 3- and 4-story buildings kind of in the interior of the lot, so not abutting the residential areas. 6 townhomes on East Springbrook, a clubhouse, standalone garages. There we go, there's my mouse. On the south parcel line, a landscape buffer around the entire lot, and they are including a egress, 2 egress lanes and 1 ingress on East Oakland, and 1 egress and 1 ingress lane on East Springbrook with a deceleration lane, as per the traffic impact analysis that was completed. As with any rezoning and concept plan, any major changes made to this plan after adoption would require further approval from both Planning and City Commission. The neighborhood meeting, again, was held, and 1 attendee was in attendance with concerns over the impact of traffic and environmental impacts to wetlands. As previously stated, a traffic impact analysis was completed with the recommendations being provided by the developer, and an impact analysis to the environment was completed, and there was no additional requirements being required as the wetland area is not being graded upon. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning. It is consistent with our current future land use map and the future Horizon 2045 land use map, and it eliminates the split zone lot of R4 and B4, and it is, again, aligned with the policies of promoting multifamily and different housing options within the city. And it is a public hearing.
I had a question. I think it was at Planning Commission where somebody spoke at public comment about the buffering on the wetlands, and is that still a requirement, or, because I think the environmental study was supposed to speak to that?
So the landscape buffer, the green buffer that is depicted, is part of our design requirements. If there is a natural buffer already in place at the time of civil and site plan submittal, our city landscaper will take a look at that and see if it is adequate for that requirement. So if it's any additional, we can add that type 1 buffer, but as of right now, it is being shown to meet standards.
Can there be any requirement, if it is adequate, to maintain what's there?
Yes.
And not let them adjust it, or the developer adjust it? Okay.
Yes. So it is required to have a minimum type 1 buffer which is either 10-foot with a 6-foot fence and trees, or 15-foot with more trees. So there is a minimum to be met.
I was thinking about the height for 3 stories, and I believe we have some precedent out in that area, maybe on Lake Drive, Lakeview with 3-story. Okay. That was just really answering my own question there, so thanks.
If there's no other comments at this time, I will open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for, against, or about this particular item, please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Warren Sugg with Civil Design Concepts out of Asheville. I'm just here for any questions you guys have about the project. We helped with the design. I was at the planning board meeting and just received any questions you guys have. Am I for it or against it? Well, I'm pretty much paid to be for it.
And Oakland entrances and exits on both sides there. Is there any other in the back?
No, ma'am. The primary access is off of Oakland and coming in, and as mentioned, we've got 2 lanes coming out, 1 lane coming in, and then we have another access over to Springbrook.
Springbrook, yeah.
One in, one out. Sugg, S-U-G-G.
That's good, thanks.
Thank you.
Who's the developer?
On the application petitioner's name is Cavanis and Cates Communities.
Thank you. Any questions? Good to go.
Thank you all.
Any other wishing to speak for or against? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second. Ms. Laus.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball.
Yes, the next item is fall under ordinances of 3rd reading. Item 8.1 is 4921-25. This is the 3rd and final reading of an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City by changing from RP3 to R2 and R3 for property located at 2343 Knob Creek Road.
There have been no changes to the proposal, and staff recommends approval.
Any?
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball.
I'm going to read this very slowly in case Ms. Laus needs to walk down. This is item number 8.2, ordinance 4922-25, the 3rd and final reading of an ordinance adopting a certified tax rate for the 2025 tax year.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and Ms. Ball. There's been no changes to this ordinance since the 2nd reading. We recommend approval.
Ms. Laus, I had someone call me after last time when I asked if you would give a little bit more explanation why they're different, thanking us for doing that. So I'm going to ask you to do it one more time, and with the emphasis because Johnson City is all 3 in Washington County, Carter County, and Sullivan County. These are just the city taxes, but residing in those counties, there is a separate county tax. So I want to address that we have nothing to do with. Right?
Yes, because we are a multi-jurisdictional city and we're in 3 different counties, and the 3 counties all reassess their property, their appraisals at different times and different years. They're not on the same schedule. It makes us have to do a certified tax rate by looking at the market values compared to the appraised values of all of the county, of all 3 counties, and apply those types of ratios to our rate to determine what each county's rate is. And since Carter has not been reappraised since 2021, they have a higher certified tax rate.
And
But just to be clear, though, I think your question was, if you are a city resident in Carter County, the tax rate we are describing is what you owe to the city of Johnson City. There is a separate tax rate for Carter County.
Yes, it is only, these are only the city tax rates that are going to come to the city of Johnson City. The counties all assess their own.
And these are property tax rates?
Property tax rates, real estate and personal.
And who pays property taxes in
This-
Johnson City?
This Johnson City residents.
On what?
On any real estate that they own, any property they own, and businesses pay it on their personal property.
Correct. And then, so people who rent don't pay property
No.
taxes? Their
It's the
landlord
owner.
pays it? Yeah. Who he takes, or she takes out of your rent? right?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to kind of clarify too, is that they reassess, things have to get reweighted, and the state is certifying these.
Yes,
And they're
the-
kind of telling us what we need
Yes,
to
the
adjust
state
to.
takes the appraisal from each county, and then they do their calculations, and they do the weighted averages, and they tell us what these rates are. These are not calculated by the city, these are calculated by the comptroller's office and given to us.
I have one more rhetorical question.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so what does the city do with property taxes after we collect them? How are those property taxes used?
They're used to provide all the services that the city provides. So your public works, your water and sewer, well, the water and sewer is primarily fees, but your public works, your planning and development, your economic development, all the different departments of the city.
Police department?
Police department, fire department.
Right.
Yeah, they fund all of that.
Thank you.
And when Carter County redoes theirs, their rate will come down like the other two counties will come down. They just haven't done theirs yet.
Yes, they're planning, they have a reassessment next year. So next year, I would expect Carter County to drop significantly, and potentially Washington and Sullivan would raise very slightly.
But to be clear, when we say raise and drop, we are talking about the tax rate, not the tax bill.
Yes.
The reason Carter County is seeing a higher tax rate is if you are in Washington County and your $200,000 house got a new appraisal last year and it's a $400,000 house, you would not be paying an equal rate of tax to somebody in Carter County whose appraisal is now 4 years old. And so the equalization is an attempt by the comptroller in Nashville, not us, to level those calculations to reflect the fact that older appraisals don't reflect the same values as newer appraisals.
Yes, they find that ratio of what the actual appraisal is compared to what the current market value is, and they apply that. It's like you've said, every year we talk about this, if the pie doesn't get any bigger, it just gets reallocated.
And we did not raise property taxes this year?
We did not
at
raise
all?
property taxes this year.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
All right, you gotta wait for me.
Okay.
I can't find my mouse. Thank you.
Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball?
The next item before you is ordinance number 4924-25. This is the third and final reading of an ordinance to rezone Browns Mill Road from RP2 to RP3.
There have been no changes, and staff recommends approval.
Move approval.
Second?
Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball? Oh, or Mr. Trivett?
Mayor, the next item of business is 8.4 ordinance number 4925-25 for third reading and final reading. An ordinance to amend Title 8, Chapters 1 and 2 of the Code of the City of Johnson City. And Ms. Ball will be doing the presentation and answering any questions.
I have a very quick overview. The overview is, this is a public safety initiative. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission. The ordinance that you're voting on tonight, or you're considering tonight, you may change, is this ordinance would permit the city to change the hours of alcohol sales for any pieces of property currently in the city that are permitted to sell alcohol on premise, which are primarily businesses or commercials districts where they're allowed on site. This ordinance would cut off the time of alcohol sales at 1 a.m. and clear with the clearing of the tables at 1:15, but it does not require the closing of any business during any specific time. And again, this would help for a safe and thriving community. This graph just updates. We have provided you with graphs that show the top three most egregious crimes in the city. This graph just upgrades for the month of July. The month of July, we had an additional 10 of these types of 3 crimes that were committed during this time period. And again, those were DUIs, weapons and drugs, and violent crimes. And again, there were 10 of those during the month of July. This is the step that shows where you are in this process, and this is the third and final reading for your consideration.
Commissioner Wise, you weren't here at the last reading. If you've got any comments, I'll let you go first.
Well, I might ask Mr. Seeley to talk through, if this is passed, how this translates into going into effect if he is, oh, I'm sorry, you're right there. Could you address that?
If it is passed tonight, we have to publish the ordinance in the newspaper here in the city, and to get that published, it'll probably take approximately 2 weeks to have that done. So again, until it's published in the local newspaper, it will not be effective. So that'll take approximately 2 weeks. At that point, we could send out a notice to the businesses that are affected by this ordinance. It also could be posted on the website. But I'd say it will take approximately 2 weeks for us to take care of the requirement that we publish it in the newspaper.
Mr. Seeley, just a follow-up question. 2 weeks ago, when we heard this, and the footprint of the businesses impacted was changed, I know you made a comment. I had someone ask me, does it not have to go back and through all the readings again? But you addressed the fact on how a legal issue is affected in an ordinance like this. If you could readdress that.
The commission can amend the ordinance all the way up to the vote at the third reading. So it's perfectly appropriate to amend the ordinance after the first or second reading. It does not require the commission to go back to the starting point, again, if there is an amendment.
I just, to now answer the question, I appreciate and have listened, and I watched the meeting I wasn't able to attend, and certainly can understand the impression, I don't share it, but that a decision has been rushed or that it's going to impact the business models of some of our community's small businesses. I appreciate the arguments over lost revenue, both for the city and for those businesses. I appreciate that the sheriff has brought new resources to bear in recent weeks, and we certainly welcome those. I don't take lightly that this kind of decision may have consequences for workers, you know, I don't understand the logic of faster drinking, but I'll go ahead and accept that I heard that. And that the issue is in the parking lots or on the street, not in the bars. With that said, I've also heard the argument that we've not been compromising. I would suggest to you there are people in town who would shut it off at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and so 1 o'clock already represents a compromise. It's a compromise in a conversation much larger than the one we've been having with one segment of the community. And I would suggest that it's not been a rushed decision. The first public meeting we had with a public vote on this topic occurred on February the 13th. And was a part of public discussions and public meetings going back to last year. We don't think for a minute this is a single silver bullet, and no one has claimed that it was. And we recognize that there is a revenue consequence to this, but we would also suggest there's an offset in the cost of public services that every taxpayer and every business pays. And while I agree alcohol doesn't assault people, intoxicated people do. And at the end of the day, for me, this is a public safety concern, and there are clear patterns. Somebody died this week at 2-something in the morning after being intoxicated in a public establishment. And so regardless of those things, to sit by and do nothing, or to suggest that we're going to start a conversation now, we've been having these conversations now for over a year. And sadly, as the statistics have shown even in the last couple months, some of those very same counts have not gone down. They've gone up in May, June, and July from the prior year. And so with that, I'm a motion to approve the ordinance as presented.
Is there a second?
Can I do further discussion?
After the second?
I'll second.
Second. Any comments or?
I would go back to what I talked about last time, and we didn't go through with anything, but if we could move it back to 2 o'clock and see what happens, and reserve going back to 1 o'clock for what happens with us going to 2 and see if it improves, I would go for that. But that is just my opinion. I know that my kids say that the 1 o'clock is my 11 o'clock when I was growing up, because they go out. I went out at 8 and came home at 11 most of the time, and 12 was on special occasions kind of thing, but that was many years ago. And my kids go out at 9 or 10 o'clock and come back in at 1, and that was the same thing. But that is, like I said, I am not a drinker. I don't go out. I've been downtown after midnight a couple of times on New Year's Eve, and that's about the only time I've been out that late downtown, but I'm going to be 65 next year, so I am not young and not going to go party at night, so it's just not what I do. So that is just my opinion, so I wanted to bring that forward.
This topic goes through my head a ton of different ways, and I think I've really wanted to hear from the community some solutions and concern, but most of what I tend to hear, I feel like, is about loss of revenue. And until one of the last ladies came to speak and handed us a speech, no one mentioned the loss of life. And it's a real thing. And I talked to multiple stakeholders this week that have late night bars and said, come and bring a solution that we can do. And I think I did hear a couple 2 o'clocks. I heard a lot of defer. I heard a lot of defer. I've heard a lot of let's look at this later. And then we did have a fatality 2 days ago. It wasn't downtown. It was outside of a restaurant that has a liquor license. And then I got the July numbers, and they've gone up since I talked last week. And so I've got a lot of friends that this affects, but there's an immeasurable amount of the community that, well, and I do want to point out one other thing too, because I think somebody had said earlier that the downtown has a perception of being safe, and that if we pass something like this, that it may turn a perception to where it's unsafe. And I am unbelievably shocked with the number of people that have contacted me in the last 6 weeks saying how unsafe they feel downtown. And it's heartbreaking. And it's not what I would have expected. I have friends that a group of girls that have decided they won't go out downtown without each other. And these are people that I've been friends with for a long time, never heard them say that. So that makes this all so hard for me. I really would have loved to have heard maybe more of a concise voice on 2 o'clock, because even for me, Todd, I got a few people, but for the most part, it was put this off and let's see what happens with the sheriff. The problem with that is, and as grateful as we are there, the sheriff answers to the county commission. He doesn't answer to the city commission. And he answers to the citizens and the taxpayers of all of the county, but his fund and his money comes from the county commission, from what I understand. So those are just some thoughts that I'll share with your comment too.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mayor, obviously this has been a very, very difficult time for all of you who were here, for all who have been here over these weeks. It really comes down to three things for me. And let me present the first one, that this ordinance, if it passes tonight, doesn't require you to close your business. It's just last call. So how you might, I just go back and recall someone who's sitting in here reminded me during COVID when the state closed down how many tables you could seat in your establishment, that it was almost devastating. And so there was a plan that was worked out so delivery could take place, and that was a creative solution to a really, really horrible time. So, you know, the opportunity for you to do some things differently as well, and, you know, sell other products, keep people there, serve food, help them sober up if needed before they go out on the street, is still revenue generating. The second thing, and it disturbed me every time I read it, and we received over 300 copies of the cut and paste letter that y'all sent us. Some people expressed their opinion differently, but by and large, it was cut and pasted, and I was either a patron or a resident. But here's something in that letter that just spoke to me. It said, rowdy behavior and violence are predictable and preventable. And so in the letter, it was, have more police there. Well, right now, and for months, and as long as I've been on the commission, we have placed a disproportionate level of police officers in that area. They may have been undercover, they may have been fully clothed, but we have the numbers on it. And now the sheriff has come in, and that adds to the disproportionate level. So the rowdy behavior and violence is predictable, and you want us to come and protect everybody because of that. And so our jobs up on this commission is the public safety. Public safety, that's everybody in our community. But at some point in time, when you think about risk mitigation, so what else can you do to mitigate that risk? We know the risk is there. You said the risk is there. And the numbers show the risk is there. And the amount we're spending on police officers and the sheriff's department to be down there, now they're covering it right now, but they probably have less officers than we do. And we have a whole city to protect. So I feel very strongly we have to try a different risk mitigation approach. And I will be supporting the 1 o'clock last call.
I guess I just want to say, I appreciate everybody who has spoken for and against over these past 3 readings. One of the comments that I think I've heard a few times is, we're not being heard, you're not listening. Well, we've heard and we've been listening. We just maybe don't agree. And those are 2 totally different things. Because you don't get what you are going for doesn't necessarily mean that you've not been heard. It just means that there are other people, as Commissioner Wise mentioned, we're looking at the whole community, not just the building community or the downtown community, but our whole citizenry. And And those are the things I've had to say about it. I mean, but there's no other comments. We can take a vote.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
No.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball?
Yes, the next order of business, excuse me, is under other. It's item 9.1 is to consider approval of an interlocal agreement between the City of Johnson City and the 911 Emergency Communication District of Washington County.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
Ms. Ball. I'm Steve Willis, Assistant City Manager. What you have before you this evening is the interlocal agreement for FY 2026 between the city and the 911 Communications District. The term of this agreement will be July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. The funding for this agreement in the amount of $1,375,000 was appropriated through our FY 2026 budget, which this commission approved in June, and that is the same allocation as the previous year. Staff would recommend your approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
We need to close the door. Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes.
Could the doors to the chambers be closed?
Maybe this other door. Ms. Ball?
Yes, our final item on the agenda is a city manager's report. We have a budget performance management report.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, my name is John Stedman. I'm the Economic Development, Financial, and Incentive Manager, but formerly I was the Budget Analyst during the process when this performance report was put into place. And so tonight we're going to go over just, this report is organized around the strategic goals that this committee sets. Those goals are economic vitality, excellence in city government, quality of place, and future-ready infrastructure. And so we're going to go over a few touch points that check in on how the city is looking around those goals. So for economic vitality, we've included a chart on the Johnson City metropolitan statistical areas total real, that's inflation adjusted, gross domestic product from 2001 to 2023. What's really striking about this chart is you can see the lingering effects of the recession in the real GDP number. For about 2008 to 2017, the real GDP was relatively flat. It's been since 2017 through 2023 that we've seen substantial growth in our inflation-adjusted GDP. Another thing is the Johnson City median household income. This chart shows both the median household income in blue and the inflation-adjusted in 2017 dollars in orange. And so you can see that while we made some real progress with median household income in 2021, that stagnation from 2022 to 2023 means that inflation has eaten into some of those real gains we were seeing in median household income. City unemployment, this comes from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. They publish a monthly report, and you can go in and get the unemployment rate for that month. So you can see the effects of the pandemic there at March of 2020, where we hit about 14%. But fortunately for the city, we've been below 4% since June of 22 for unemployment. So that's really good. Population, The 2024 population number came in from the U.S. Census Population Estimate Program, has it at 73,635. It's a little bit lower than some other sites were projecting at about 74. There's been some really great, what's interesting to point out is that the really rapid population growth that we had been seeing between around 2020 to 2023 seems to be tapering off a little bit. This is the Federal Housing Finance Agency's House Price Index. And what this shows is from 1992 to 2025, the relative value of homes in Johnson City. 1995 Q1 is the base of 100. And so from what I chose this large time horizon to point out that from between 1995 and Q1 of 2019, the index rose from 100 to 200. It's 24 years. And then from Q1 of 2019 to Q2 of 2022, it rose from 200 to 300. Just 3 years, you know. This is a chart. This shows the Johnson City MSA's Housing Affordability Index. The National Realtors Association publishes an affordability index. Luckily, they don't publish one for the Johnson City MSA, but all the data they use is publicly available, so we were able to recreate the same index. A score above 100 indicates greater affordability. So for instance, if the score was 150, that would mean you would have roughly $1.50 to spend on housing that cost you $1. So you can see that since Q3 of 2022, the index has been below 100, meaning that the median family, not household, the median family income has not been enough to purchase a median priced home in the Johnson City MSA. And I believe that may be the first time. It's certainly the first time in this data that that's been the case.
Did you kind of peel the onion back a little bit and look at other locations within the MSA to see, is everything kind of tracking the same, or is Carter County, Unicoi County different?
I did not. The data used to recreate this chart was MSA specific, so I was not able to do so.
So would that mean, since our MSA is Carter and Unicoi County, it's really
Yes.
already averaging those three? So theoretically, ours might be worse because we're being pulled back a little?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. So it already includes Unicoi and Carter County?
That's correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yep. I'll define, the Johnson City MSA is Washington, Carter, and Unicoi County. I apologize, I didn't define that earlier. And that housing crunch bears out in our National Community Survey results. You can see the results from 2018 to the survey in 2024. The percentage of positive responses about the variety of housing options and the availability of quality housing have really taken a nosedive during that period. The one thing to note that's important is that these results from 2024 are still similar to the other 500 municipalities that participate in the survey. So in this instance, we're just part of a larger national trend as opposed to a unique problem. Other survey results on economic vitality point that the city's doing very well comparably to its peers. One good point of note is that the survey respondents on cost of living at 48%, that was higher than the typical respondents. And so when you get a result of higher as opposed to similar, that means it was more than 10 points above the average response. So that was good.
So what did that mean?
That means that our residents rated the cost of living
They viewed it
more favorably than the typical municipality that participated in the National Community Survey. Excellence in city governance. We saw this chart during our budget overview. You can see the FY25 number is a projection, and the FY26 is the budgeted amount. The quality of services provided, around 2/3 of city residents gave positive responses to the overall quality of the services provided by the city, whereas around only 1/3 gave a positive response to quality of service provided by the federal government. In terms of overall customer service, the value of the taxes paid, and the overall direction that the city is taking, Johnson City was similar to the other municipalities that participated in this survey. Quality of place. So here is the latest crime rate data from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. They publish a Crime in Tennessee annual report, and these are the Group A offenses. So these are your more frequently occurring and more serious crimes, things like homicide, assault, theft, things like that. You can see that we started in 2017 at a 9.7 and have dropped in 2024 to a 6.6.
Crimes per 1,000
per 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. And this is interesting. If you actually graph it with the growth in population, you can actually see a negative relationship between the increase in population and the crime rate, which is not totally explained by the growth in population. You know, sometime in the 90s and in the 2010s, the US crime rate did fall largely because of population increases diluting the number. But our decrease in the crime rate, only around 12% can be attributed to the increase in the population of that total drop. So we are actually seeing a real decrease in crime. Schools, at 76%, Johnson City, our respondents were higher than the typical municipality about how they felt about the quality of our K through 12 education. I do not know how much higher exactly. I know at least 10 points. Yeah. And that bears out in our average ACT scores from the city schools. You can see that the state average also went down around 2021 and 2022. This was part of a larger national trend that we also saw after the pandemic with decreasing test scores. But you can see from the 2020 results, the Johnson City Schools average result is starting to go back up. So that's a good sign. In terms of our quality of place, with Johnson City as a place to live, the overall quality of life, people recommending living in Johnson City to someone else, planning to live here for the next 5 years, and as a place to raise children, we got great results similar to all the other municipalities. But as a place to retire, we actually scored higher than the typical municipality. For Parks and Recreation, despite managing more acres of parkland per resident, we do so at a similar cost to municipalities around the same size as us. And this is from data from our Parks Department and from the National Recreation and Parks Association Agency Performance Review. Oops. We almost broke the record for rounds of golf played at Pine Oaks. We were very close, but not quite. It was good. Senior programming participants, the effects of COVID on our parks participation and our senior program participation is really pronounced. We were down to 15,000 participants in FY21, and now in FY25 we had 85,000 people participate in senior programming.
John, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's 85,000 people.
Participants, yes.
Playing probably 44,000 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the golf rounds, what was it, 6 years ago that we voted to close Buffalo Valley? when the city owned not one but 2 municipal golf courses, we were playing fewer rounds of golf at both combined than we're playing at Pine Oaks now. For those who are interested in minutia.
Thank you, Commissioner. In terms of total participants for all Parks and Recreation programming, this includes all the programs that Parks does, as well as the senior programming, we are at around 235,000 participants for all the different programming. It's just outstanding. Our future-ready infrastructure, overall quality of utility infrastructure, 74%, similar to other municipalities. And our garbage collection, drinking water, sewer services, and stormwater, the utilities that the city provides, also scored similarly. Transportation, the overall quality of, this is an interesting tidbit. The question that they used to ask about just about like how surveys work and how you can get different results by asking different questions. This question used to be the ease of travel on the transportation system. And our responses used to be around 80%, the overall ease of travel. And then they changed the question to the overall quality of the transportation system, and our responses were down around 30%. And that was similar elsewhere. I just thought that was interesting. But ease of travel by car, also similar to other municipalities. In terms of our fire and water sewer services, since 2016, we've had an ISO rating of 1, which is the highest possible score, which is excellent. And our water and sewer services TDEC results has been comfortably above the minimum approval score for a municipality. Do you have any questions about anything we've gone over? No?
Well, thank you for bringing all that to us. We've been seeing parts of it kind of in dribs and drabs, but, and thanks to all the employees and to the leadership of you, Mrs. Ball, for, providing day-to-day operating decisions that serve the citizens of Johnson City. So, and we'll do this again in 2 years. We do it every 2 or 3 years.
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years, okay. Thank you.
And it's probably worth noting when you're looking at those benchmark numbers, these are other people that have participated in those citizen surveys in other communities, and not every community elects to do those surveys. And so you already have sort of a pulse check of communities that place a high enough value on measuring that. And so I suspect if you did it just of any community, of any municipality, you would find that there would be a little different variance there too. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ball?
Yeah, it is with sadness and regret that I have to announce that this is Mr. Trivett's last meeting with us. He has been with me since I've been here, except for the first couple of months. So I appreciate the work that he's done. He's really a hands-on person and has completed a lot of work with the city, and he will be missed. And I'm sure you all feel the same way. And so it's hard. I'm very thankful that he will continue in a contract basis with us working on a project. So I hate to see him go, but I'm glad that he's retiring and able to enjoy his retirement. So thank you so much, Randy Trivet.
Well, thank you all. I've really enjoyed my time at the city, and I appreciate those comments. I've enjoyed working with all of you all. I am looking forward to traveling in some wide open spaces and not being as claustrophobic as sometimes we are here, but I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate all the support and all the confidence that you've placed in me over the past few years, so thank you all.
Thank you for all that you've done. You've been an instrumental part of the city as both the assistant and then deputy, but also even before that in the facilities role. A lot of building and improvements and renovations occurred over that tenure, and you've left a mark on lots of public buildings in Johnson City.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Now, Randy, you can't just go back to Unicoi County, I'm telling you that. And so the day may come where you ask yourself, did I make a difference? And all you have to do is get in your car and drive around Johnson City, and you know you have. From the schools, from the building programs we've had with the schools, to Ash Street Courthouse, to West Walnut Street. Well, I could just keep on going right here, but your management of those projects has been great. And so when you're feeling a little bit down, just get in the car and ride around. Thank you.
Randy, I'd like to thank you for what you've done. I know you've helped Johnson City a lot, and it's been good getting to know you and getting to be friends with you. I enjoyed your friendship, some of the travel we did and such. But anyway, I appreciate you. I wish you all the best luck, and thanks for hanging around and doing some of the projects with us.
Yeah, I get to be new on the commission and face some challenging subjects, and I always appreciate your wisdom, but I guess it's a little too short-lived, I think. But you'll have a lot of fun.
Were you going to say, Dr. Fowler?
It's hard to believe, but high school football starts tomorrow. Elizabethton plays at Johnson City here tomorrow night, and it's on TV starting at 7:30 tomorrow night. So if you want to come out and support our team, we're going to be a little warm still tomorrow night, I think. So,
Vice Mayor? Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if you had something more to say about Mr. Trevitt. Huh? I know, but I thought he was going to say something additional. We've known each other since I was on the school board almost 10 years ago, and you were a breath of fresh air for the school board in communication between city and school system. And we're integral in taking inventory of the facilities in order to be able to put systems on a capital improvement plan. And of course, here at the City Commission, again, as everybody else has said, super thoughtful, insightful, and we thank you for everything you've done. Commissioner Barr? Yeah?
Well, I have to announce tonight, my oldest granddaughter is the soccer coach for Liberty Bell Middle School. And they just beat Indian Trail Middle School the first time ever at Kermit-Tipton. And so we're very proud, but what we're really proud of is the quality of sports for boys and girls in our school system and in our parks and recreation leagues, and the facilities that they have to play on. They actually got to play that match on Kermit-Tipton, in the football stadium. And so very exciting. We have another granddaughter, our middle one, who plays on varsity for Science Hill. So we get to go to a lot of soccer games and baseball with our grandson. So.
Commissioner Wise?
Nothing to add.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Just going back to going to two middle schools, we had about 90 kids playing for the two schools as middle schools, and when they came together in ninth grade, we still have 55 ninth graders that are out for football, which bodes well for 3 years from now when they become seniors, that we have that many kids still playing and doing that well. So I think it was a good decision to go to two middle schools and feed up to Science Hill to keep our numbers up and have some good teams coming in the future.
Great. Ms. Ball, if nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting.